I'm back. Hi. How you doing? Hopefully good. Doing okay. Same shirt. Same day. I'm back again. I want to talk this time about some notable 12 inches in my collection. Over the years, I've bought a lot of vinyl. A lot of vinyl has come and gone. I used to have a very extensive collection of vinyl. And, vinyl is a great thing if you like to collect music, because a lot of other people like to collect music too. And sometimes if financially you get into a pinch, selling your vinyl is a good way to make a little extra money. So unfortunately, I've had to do that. But whenever I've done it, I've tried to sell it to people who can appreciate. I mean, clearly the people who are going to buy the kind of music that I'm into are going to appreciate it. And so if you've ever bought vinyl from me, then thank you. And I hope you still have a lot of those records. But 12 inches, especially 12 inches drove a lot of this music, especially back in the day, because 12 inches were easier to acquire. They were cheaper, just one record, sometimes a couple of records for an EP. But, a 12-inch single, you get a couple of tracks, you get a few tracks, $8 to $12, depending on the quality of it. Really easy to get. You can build a collection up really easily with a slew of 12 inches, and it was great. Like if you like the 12 inch, then you'll probably like the album too. Or if it's sometimes a 12 inch is just a standalone thing, that might make it onto a compilation and not an album, or maybe not even make it onto anything at all. And so 12 inch is really, it's a great way to get, music heard, to get exposure. And I want to talk about some of the notable 12 inches in my collection. We're going to start off with Satori, which is a Matsuri release from 1996. And this one was a collaboration by Pete Martin and Sean Williams. Pete Martin was known as Slide, and also was 1/2 to 1/3 of UX, which is, I'll get to UX at some point. And Sean Williams was mostly known as Process. And these two people together make a really interesting collaboration. It's so interesting that I remember reading like Accelerator or Wax or maybe even NME or something, and reading a review of this 12 inch, and the review the guy talked nothing about the music at all. He was just like, will they make it back to Earth? Because the Back to Earth EP, like they're in the spaceship and there they go and they're off. It was like nothing about the music at all. Maybe the guy just didn't have anything creative or constructive to say about it, because it's just so weird. This is really trippy and odd driving psychedelic trance. It's not like psytrance in the definitive sense. It's kind of like, it's not really Goa either. It's kind of like a hodgepodge of both, because Sean Process was very strange and kind of melodic driving, psychedelic, like really cohesive and odd. And then Pete Martin was more of like a synth line driven, really, his synth lines are really distinctive. If you listen to Slide, if you listen to UX, it's almost kind of, at least with the UX projects, it was almost kind of hard to tell, who was programming what, because Chris Kilvin and Pete Martin have very similar distinctive programming skills, programming narratives. But I remember I bought this more than once. This is probably like the third time I've owned this EP, because it was just so strange and weird, like it's driving, it's trippy, it's not quite Goa, it's not quite psytrance. It's cool. The Satori Back to Earth EP. All right, since we're still sort of talking about Chris Kilvin, I'd like to talk about can you see it? The SIB Unity Network Space Puppy EP. Now this is, in my opinion, definitive Civ Unity Network, which was if you put Civ Unity Network and Eon Project and UX, they're all sort of same but different, And as far as the Civ, Chris Kilvin, this is pretty much just Chris Kilvin, who was one of the driving forces behind UX. But I mean, it's almost UX, but this is a very hard, very unforgiving, way more unforgiving single than any of the other Civ Unity Network releases, in my opinion. This one is the hardest one. This one will just, it'll make your needle jump, because the grooves in this record are that deep. It's pure Chris Kilvin. This is pure Civ Unity Network. Like if you want, this is him taking Civ Unity Network experience to as far as it could go, in my opinion. And, I remember hearing this, buying it at the record store in Portland, and the guy was like, that's real Goa trance. Took it home and just, oh, this is fantastic. It's so hard. I love it. It's the hardest Civ Unity Network one. It's great. And, I love this 12-inch cover design that Flying Rhino was doing at the time. And they made this one silver, and it's just awesome. I love the whole circular thing that they did. This one is great. I highly recommend it. Bamboo Forest, the Explorer Vecto EP. Now, Bamboo Forest is an interesting group because they put out a whole bunch of really good 12 inches, and I had almost all of them. In fact, I think I had about all of them. And I thought, wow, these guys are crunchy and trippy and psychedelic and driving and funky and moody, and all this great stuff, lots of really great 12 inches. And then I heard the album, and the album was really boring and predictable, and it wasn't good. And these guys are one of the oddball ones because they put out all these fantastic 12-inch singles, and their albums were just awful. They didn't have the flow or the energy or the drive or the grab, that these 12 inches have. At any rate, this is one of their best 12 inches, definitely. Crunchy, groovy, driving, melodic, yum. I love it. Really great. They had a bunch of other singles that appeared on compilations too, and those are really good. In my opinion, the albums were just terrible and predictable, and I just don't get it. It was really disappointing because I wanted, buying all these singles. I was like, well, the album's got to be great, And to me, the albums that I heard of theirs were just, they weren't good. They weren't as good as these. They just didn't have the strength of these. I don't know what happened. Maybe they just didn't have the right drugs. I don't know. I'll take this out of here because I don't know if you can see it, but got crap on it. This is the Purple Cascades 12-inch on Dragonfly. This one is really great. I remember beautiful spring day, went to the record store, bought this, took it home, played it over and over and over, drove my college girlfriend crazy because she was absolutely sick of it. This is really great, hypnotic, melodic, progressive trance. Very nice, very kind of like Human Blue, kind of just a really clean, the melody could be a little repetitive, but it's just the one melody, really, and it's got really good energy. It's so nice. Like put this on. It's spring right now. Put this on. Turn it up on a nice sunny day. It's just really great. And it's one of the only Purple releases that I've seen. If it's not the only one, there might be more. I don't know. But I looked for more. I remember, and I only found this one. And by the way, this is 1999. I forgot to add Civ Unity Network was 95 to 96, and the Bamboo Forest Explorer EP was 2000. So sorry about that. Now we're going to go a little bit back further in time and talk about this, the Dharma Transway EP. This is from Music Now Records from 1995. Now this is a really interesting, this is a very interesting, very good 12-inch. This is a collaboration between BT, also known as Brian Transow, and John Selway. And BT went on to be huge DJ, music maker, with the likes of people like Sasha and stuff like that. Kind of more into the progressive trance stuff. But this one is melodic acid, tweaking acid trance from like the good old days of like Union Jack and stuff like that. In fact, this would mix very well with Union Jack. Kind of a thing, like the melodic acid trance kind of stuff. The Transway track in particular is like you've never heard tweaking melodic 303 like this. Both sides have 303, but the Transway side is just amazing. I mean, it's beautiful. There's beautiful swells, melodic swells in it. The breakdown and break up. This is like mid 90s trance gold, but it has tweaking acid in it that's pretty, and not like crazy ear-ringing 303 tweaking. I highly recommend it. The B-side is, less pretty, but not that typical 303 trance stuff either. It's kind of weird, but this one is fantastic. And now since we're on the subject of 303, you can't talk about 303 without talking about the Tweakin' Acid Funk 12-inch from Josh Wink on Strictly Rhythm 1995. One of the most popular 12-inch singles that was ever put out. Hugely popular. I heard this at parties all the time. In fact, I remember going to parties and hearing it more than once. Somebody would play it, somebody else would play it. I mean, the Tweakin' Acid Funk took that, breaks with the screaming acid buildup that just will break your earballs. Your earballs will pop out of your ears. And it was so hugely popular. There have been some remixes of it that are okay, but I always end up going back to the Tweakin' Acid Funk. The other two mixes on here aren't too bad. The 611 Acid Groove and DJ Wink's Hard House mix, they're pretty good, but everybody knows the Tweakin' Acid Funk was the one to get. So I still have this. It will break your earballs off of your head. Couple more. I'd like to talk about the Tim Schultz Animatronic EP, Matsuri 1997. This is in my opinion, this is definitive Tim Schultz. Tim Schultz was always really dark, driving, kind of cheesy, I feel like he needed to put a little bit more in there to really drive it home. But let's talk about the Inner Child track on this. The Inner Child track on this is like a scary, emotive, crazy, dark track. I mean, like, I was a little freaked out when I heard this for the first time. I mean, it's ominous. It's dark, This is 1997, like the peak of dark Goa, and for him, I mean, I never heard him do anything better than this before or since. And that's why I like this 12-inch. The animatronic track is kind of, it's more popular than the Inner Child song track. I didn't really see the Inner Child track on a whole lot of compilations or anything, mostly animatronic. Maybe they knew that and they were saving it just for the special people who ended up getting this. But, I mean, just standalone track, from Tim Schultz. Absolutely fantastic. Switching gears. You're gonna love this. Parag Akkad, Injected with the Poison. Can you see that? This was the one that was on Rave Till Dawn, right? Back in the day. 1992, 1992 when Rave was coming into its own, and then Gabber and then The Prodigy and all that stuff, I mean, Rave Till Dawn was probably one of the most popular and, in my opinion, one of the best rave compilations of its time. And the Parag Akkad, Injected with the Poison, it's Adam's Power mix that was on that compilation, which was on this 12-inch. Super cheesy. I mean, it's rave. So it's going to be whistles and crowd noise and lots of yeahs and shit like that, super cheesy. But the Injected with the Poison song was just sort of like one of the ones that worked out a little bit better for the kind of rave that they were corking out. And these guys corked out a lot of stuff. Parag Akkad is part of Lords of Acid, Jade for You, and Adam, what's his name? Damn it. Oliver Adams, stuff like that. These guys were just cranking out techno, trance back in the day. A lot of rave stuff. But at any rate, lots of energy and rave done right, as far as I'm concerned. This was a lot of fun. So, last two, I want to talk about the Underworld Dinosaur Adventure 3D 12-inch. In particular, the Sharpside remix. Sharpside is a techno guru, techno trance guru. This is Junior Boy's own 2002. Pretty much only talented people get to remix Underworld. Where could I start with those guys? I've loved Underworld ever since Dub No Bass with My Headman. They did the avant-garde techno thing so well, and even after Darren Emerson, I think it was Darren, who left the band, they're still going, and they still make good stuff, and they have a very distinctive sound, and they're very, I don't know, some people don't find them palatable at all. I always have. I love Underworld. Their driving avant-garde techno trance thing that they do is just fantastic, and they really blew up after the Bored Slippy track was not the original. Nux was featured on the Trainspotting soundtrack and in the movie, which is still pretty good. The Sharpside remix of Dinosaur Adventure 3D is just really great. It has the same kind of flavor almost as the Purple track, but a little bit less melodic. Very nice driving, fast techno trance. Just dance floor gold, in my opinion. This is a very highly danceable 12-inch. I love it, absolutely love it. And I'm going to end on a good note here. Right here we have the Shiva Siddhapu SST Jorgon Mushroom Messenger EP on Shiva Space Technology. Now this is just fantastic. There is nothing else like this that I have heard, and I love this. This is so cool. It blends tradition. It's a Spangle tribute. So that right there should tell you it's going to be something different and something weird. What's good about that, though, is that it's a Spangle tribute that does not sound like Spangle, which you would expect it to, but it doesn't, and that's why this is very notable. It takes traditional instruments like saxophones, maybe some glockenspiel, a piano, things like that, and blends it with trance, dub, drum and bass, and that infected mushroom sense of trippy madness. Like this track goes all over. It does this, and 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 it goes back again. It doesn't sound like Spangle at all, which is very, very good, because then you're talking about just rehash. This is definitely not rehash. This is something else. Absolutely. It's almost like the other Jiggle of the Sphinx. The B-side is Easy Going, a really kind of a hard house trance remix that's just super fun, really fast, awesome screaming leads, and lots of energy. Like a really, like if you want some good hard driving trance, the B-side of this is really good one to get. But for the Messenger, I remember I heard this on the Kumharas compilation, which was like a down-tempo compilation. This is just, try and find this and listen to it, and you'll see what I'm saying. By the way, I think this was 2000, I want to say. I didn't look up, I was too lazy to look up a year, so I'm sorry about that. The late 90s, 2000, I think is when that came out. So some notable 12 inches in my collection, and like I said, 12 inches, a lot of them really, some of them were just one-off things. Other ones did their own thing. Some of them didn't hold up to albums. A lot of different kind of, playful things you can do with 12 inches, that the DJs were, what am I trying to say? It just the playing field for 12 inches was very wide, and it had a lot of depth to it. And you got to respect the 12-inch. So, at any rate, I'll be back later with another video for you.